Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We give a special welcome to Dr. Hideko Kune, who's very kindly and graciously joined us for this panel in memory of her husband. I'd like to just say a few words by way of introduction. And I've got this on a PowerPoint, which I'll now share with you. Okay, so this panel is in memory of Professor Kune. This is at CGI 2021 on Monday, the 6th of September. These are the panelists who kindly agreed to join and say a few words in turn about Professor Kune. And I propose to take your contributions in alphabetical order, starting with John Dill, working down to Brian Wyville. Sorry about that, Brian, but your name begins with W, can't do much about that. So I'd like to invite you to say a few words, say 3 to 5 minutes initially, and then we'll open it up for general comments and anything else people want to say. I hope that's acceptable to everyone. This is a picture of Professor Kune as a graduate student at the University of Tokyo in 1963. I understand this was in chemistry. I don't think computer science had really got into being a department by then. Certainly not very much in this country. Notice the conditions we had to endure as graduate students. I don't think graduate students today would welcome black mold on the walls. So conditions have improved somewhat. And then his award, the Sacred Treasure, later on in life. And Dr. Hideko Kune may want to say something about that later on. I understand it's in the gift of the Emperor of Japan. Just how many of us remember him as a very cheerful and active individual, always supportive of those around him, whether presenting a paper or listening to others presenting their papers. I noticed many of the conferences and workshops that I attended, where he also attended, he invariably sat on the front row. So this must have been quite an ordeal for a graduate student to be presenting a paper with Professor Kune sat on the front row and leafing through all the detail of the paper, ready with some hard question at the end of the presentation. Well, it's good for the graduate students. That's the end of my introduction. I have some more photos at this website here, and I can put this up at the end if you want to make a note of it. If there's time towards the end of the panel, I will go through, I'll just click on this and you can see the photos that I managed to collect. So, I'll just stop sharing. So the first contribution, which I am doing on behalf of John Dill, who's traveling on an airplane today, he had 4 points he wanted me to mention to you. Firstly, that he was a CGNA IEEE Computer Graphics and Application Board member from about 1984 to 2002. And he had a reputation for almost never missing a board meeting. And he had a long distance to travel, of course, for each of those board meetings. Secondly, he was an incredibly hard and productive researcher and research leader with a CV of some 100 pages. The one I've got is 100 pages, and it doesn't, I think it only goes up to the early 2000s. John said, I remember talking about this with him, and will always remember his comment that he was just trying to keep up with his wife. So, Hideko, there you are, a renowned industrial leader and researcher. Thirdly, he was friendly and outgoing and had a real vision, becoming the founding president of the University of Aizu, a university devoted to computer science. Early on in the university's existence, Professor Kune had the foresight to attract Russian professors of mathematics and computer science to move to the University of Aizu. That was probably a good initiative, but maybe not without some subsequent difficulties and challenges. And finally, number 4, Professor Kune never forgot a favor. In fact, he always tried to return it with interest. At the conclusion of a board meeting, Tosi was about to miss his flight, and I traded flights with him so he could make a connecting flight. That minor favor led to an invitation to spend almost a month at the then almost brand new University of Aizu, an incredible experience for me. So thank you, John Dill, for that contribution. We now move on to Bianca Falcidieno, National Research Council. Bianca, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Rai. Thank you, Nadia, for organizing this panel in honor of CUNY, and thank you, Dr. Hideko Kuni, for attending this session. Here I want to mention two of my important collaborations with Professor Kuni. And the first was about the use of advanced mathematics in computer graphics. I was lucky because I met Professor Kuni in 1991. He invited me at the conference in Tokyo. And because I had started in Italy a new research activity called that joined the use of advanced, I am a mathematician, the use of advanced mathematics in computer graphics. But the problem was that the two communities of mathematicians and computer science were reluctant to recognize this interdisciplinary research. And when I met the first time Professor Kuni, during the visit, we discussed a lot about the importance of promoting a common research that integrates the two aspects: advanced mathematics, computational mathematics, applied mathematics, and computer science for computer graphics. And in particular, Kuni had the foresight to recognize the role of topology in computer graphics. And so I started a new activity in my research institute in what that will be called after computational topology. And this line of research gave excellent results, and it is still active at the Institute, involving a community, an interdisciplinary community of mathematicians, engineers, computer science. The second aspect, a few years later, when Professor Kuni went to Aizu, during one of my visits to Japan, we discussed about the concept of shape beyond geometry. At that time, the concept of shape in computer graphics was mainly related to geometry and visual aspects, while there was the need of associating more knowledge to the concept of shape, because shape is not only geometry and graphical attributes, but it is also structure, it is meaning, semantics, it has relation with time, history, animation, and so on. From this discussion, Professor Kuni launched several initiatives and I cooperate in this initiative. He launched the first conference in shape modeling international, which is still active. It was at the beginning a biannual event, and after 2001, it became an annual event. He launched a journal, the Journal of Shape Modeling, and we had together a big project with an industry in Japan. And this opened for me a lot of possibilities. So after the collaboration of Kuni, after 2001, 2002, when I was director of my institute, and we launched several projects in the field. I can mention just the project aimed at shape that Nadia and Daniel were partner of this project, that introduced the concept of semantics in shape modeling. So this is just to mention only two of the many contributions that Kuni gave me. Cooney was an innovator and a mentor for many of us, and he was one of the most important scientists in the computer graphics history. And always I remember with gratitude his help, how much he helped me to grow both professionally and personally. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Bianca. Next is Marina Gavrilova. Are you there, Marina?
Hello there. Thank you so much for a kind introduction. So first of all, I would like to start with saying that it's good to see all the familiar faces gathered here for the second year over Zoom for CGI conference. It's an honor to be part of that group of distinguished scientists. And it's a sad occasion when visionary, when absolutely incredibly impactful scientist leaves us. There's just always a thought of how much more could have been done. So I'm honored to remember Professor Cooney as a collaborator, as a person with whom we communicated very frequently in respect to Computer Graphics International, as well as Cyber Awards conference, as well as some other aspects of research on computer graphics and computational geometry. I mentioned it in one of my contributions that almost at any conference that I attended, being it in computational sciences domain, being it in bioinformatics domain, there would be, I would start a conversation and there will be absolutely quite a few people who knew personally Professor Cooney, and we would connect through that. I don't think I have attended an event when people didn't know his name or didn't communicate it with him. So I would like just to conclude that the longest interaction probably between myself and Professor Cooney was at the Cyber Awards Conference 2011, where Alexis Sorin, as well as Professor Cooney, as well as Brian Wyville, were attending as chairs, invited speakers. Professor Cooney was one of the keynote speakers. And I'm truly honored to spend most of my days actually just communicating, discussing future of the Cyber Awards and computer science research. His talk was on architectural design and applications of cyber awards. And he touched on cloud computing, as well as smartphone designs, as well as multimedia. So it was extremely well informed and visionary in all of those fields. And then we interacted multiple times at various continents through the past 10 years. So once again, it's my honor to just acknowledge the significance of that person for the scientific community and for all of us professionally and personally. Thank you.